So my next guest was awarded Best Actress at the Canberra Film Festival, along with them winning, what was it? Best Direction?
For this river, yes, best
Yeah,
direction.
it was Best Direction for this
in a
river.
short film at Flickerfest.
Yeah. So please
But
welcome.
not me. I didn't win.
Not
that.
you know, I know that, but the film.
Yeah.
The film yeah. You still won Best Actress. So yeah. So please welcome Madeleine Carr. Thank you.
Oh. Yay! Thank you.
So good to see you.
Yeah, you too. It was such a surprise to see your face in the Cabaret course.
It was strange, hey? I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, although I feel like whenever I do something like that, there's normally always someone that you slightly know. Like, I feel like this industry is so small. Like,
yeah, it is.
I don't even feel like I know many people, but I always see people I know and things like that, actually, now that I think about it.
But I suppose you've also been overseas as well. So it's like you haven't necessarily completely just been here. It's the people you know are probably, in the UK and that sort of thing, more so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like I have loads of people, and it's been like, because of COVID, I feel like it's been so long.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like it's been so long. It hasn't actually been that long. It's been like 2 years since I was there, but it feels like a lifetime, and I'm like, I can't even like remember that part almost. Like, it's strange. Yeah.
Well, I suppose let's start from the beginning. So growing up, you grew up on the Northern Rivers, or just north of the Northern Rivers, pretty much.
Yeah.
In Yuki.
Right in the Northern Rivers, really. Okay. I grew up in like Moolumba. I went to high school in Moolumba, and then I grew up in this little village called Yukai.
Oh, Yukai, that's what I meant. Yeah.
So I don't really know where the actual I don't know where they define that the Northern Rivers even is, but I grew up around there, like between Byron and the Gold Coast. That's where I normally stay.
Nice part of the world.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's ridiculous. Like, I hated it growing up, but it's very beautiful.
Yeah. I'm the same with where I live. We're very similar sort of areas, and it's like when I was little, very much that way. But now
I think everyone does. Hey, like, it's pretty hard. It's rare, I think, that you meet, like, even because I always wanted to be in the city. Like, I was like city girl, 100%. I was like, oh my gosh, can't wait to like grow up and just move straight to the city. And that's what I did. But I feel like when I talk to my friends who grew up in the city, I was always like, oh my God, it must have been amazing. And they were like, nah, it's fucking shit. I always wanted to go to the country.
Out the wilderness. So, and
I think you're just a teenager and you're like, everything sucks.
Yeah, totally. So growing up creative and creatively expressive, I suppose, where did you find that love for that side of things for your life?
I think I always loved it. Like, I was very naturally drawn to just performing. Like, I was one of those kids that made my parents watch like plays that I did. Like, I would always rope in whatever kids were like at the dinner party that we went to and be like, come on, we're making a play. And then like we'd sell pretend tickets and like do little performances and stuff. I think I just always like, that's what I was drawn to. And I was lucky that I had like a lot of friends who were very kind of on that same, like they were happy to do it too. So it was very like, I was performing a lot growing up, and I did a lot of dance, like heaps. Absolutely loved dance. Like, was dancing, like 2-3 times a week.
What genres were you mainly focusing on?
I did ballet and did like kind of my exams up until like, I don't know, kind of when it started to get point shoot. I think I did like as soon as we started to get on point, I think I was a bit like, oh my God, this is really hectic. And I think I stopped doing exams. But I did ballet, tap, like all the classic jazz, like contemporary, I don't know, classic.
The usual sort of usual sort of thing that you do as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. And did the stuff.
Sorry, what was that?
Did the Estedfords and stuff. And classic little dance kid. Yeah,
fun. And when did singing and acting sort of come into your life then?
Same thing. I did actually through dancing. I remember my dance teacher when I must have been quite young. I think we did a like song and dance number. I actually remember it was to you know that song, I don't know what it's actually from. I feel like Shirley Temple sings it somewhere. On the good ship.
Yeah, it is Shirley Temple.
Yeah, I don't know even what it's called, but anyway, we did it. I remember we did a song and dance to that, and we were like little sailors. Yeah. And my dance teacher must have called my mum and been like, oh, you know, she's quite good at singing, like you should get her into singing lessons. And then I think I started singing lessons with like my music teacher at school, who I had a really good relationship with her as well, and she really always encouraged me to do like because we would do like a musical a year in primary school, and she would always be like,
at primary school.
Yeah, I know, which is so rare.
That's really rare.
Yeah, she was like a really special person. I think she was really driven to like make sure that the performing arts was very big in our primary school, which I think was like so good for me because I obviously loved it. And like, yeah, so I think I went to singing lessons with her, and I started doing a couple of her Stedfords and just like, yeah, kind of similar to the dance thing, like nothing crazy, but just would do like little competitions or go to singing lessons. And I loved it as well. Like, yeah, it was the same thing. But I think like acting wise, I don't really think I understood what acting was. Like I kind of was just like, of course you act, you know, like I was like, of course but like totally. Acting came with the dance and the singing, if that makes sense. Like I knew there was this thing called acting, but it didn't like, I didn't see it as like an isolated thing. I don't think it was more like,
I think that's because one goes with the other, but the other one doesn't, if that makes sense. So do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, acting doesn't come with dancing necessarily, but dancing definitely comes with acting. And I get what you're saying. So it's almost like a surface level, really. You don't actually get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, and I suppose like it wasn't really like, you know, there was a lot of dance classes, and there was like, we did a lot of singing in school, but we never really did just like straight drama or anything like that. So I don't really think that I kind of, knew that it was a thing on its own, if that makes any sense. But yeah, when I got to high school, I feel like I started doing more drama and like was introduced to drama for the first time and had some really amazing drama teachers in high school. And that's when I kind of, started to, I suppose, realize that acting was a thing that I liked to do too. Yeah.
So your focus sort of shifted in a sense, I suppose.
A little bit. Like I still did a lot of dancing. I never stopped dancing. But I think I stopped singing definitely. And I got a bit too cool, you know, when you're in high school and you're like, oh, you know, parties and like, oh, I just want to get drunk and be cool.
I wasn't like that in high school, but yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, no, it's just me. Well, I was very like, you know, I was like awkward and just, I just wanted to be cool really. And I just couldn't really figure out, I was just very not cool. And I was like, oh my God, cool kids don't like, you know, do musicals. So
I've done that for like the last 5 years. In between us not seeing each other, I've been doing that now. So that's why I didn't do it back then. It happens at some point.
And it meant that I found it in like my early 20s or like, my like when I was 18 and 19, like I went to Sydney and was like, just got rediscovered it kind of thing. But I think in high school I still did it, but like more undergrad, like I didn't really want to shout about it, if that makes sense. I thought I didn't think it was that cool.
It was a thing of almost a thing that a freak or a weirdo or someone, you know, that wasn't quite right would do. Really, don't you reckon? For us at like going to high school, I kind of think it became a popular thing slowly during that time.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if I would have used those words necessarily.
No, I know, but I definitely was called those words. I don't remember that.
Totally. And my high school was like, it did have a lot of amazing like performing arts teachers, and we had like arts week, which was like a big, like it was similar to my primary school. It was very arty, but I think that like it definitely, you're right, it wasn't the cool thing to do, and I was really wanted to be cool, unfortunately.
And your family, how did they connect to creativity at all? Like, do you have any sort of like traits that you've taken from them, or any skills, or any sort of like, you know?
they're not like particularly I think all of my family is very creative, like in their own way, but not in their like kind of jobs at all.
Yeah, no, totally. It can be a hobby or just something that they can do, like
yeah. But like, to be honest, not super. Like, I remember my sister did, I don't know if it's the same, because you went to high school in New South Wales, didn't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, you know how if you did you do drama for like your HSC?
I'm halfway through it, but yeah.
Yeah. So I did like I feel like normally you do like a monologue or whatever. And that's what I did. But my sister wanted to do, you can also do a film, or you can do, I think there's like a couple of other options you can do for your kind of final project or whatever. And she did like a film. She wrote a film and shot it and stuff. And I think that she had like she'd lined up these two people to play like the mum and dad in this film, but then I think that they fell through or something. So basically she had to like last minute, she had to use my parents, like our parents. And I remember she was so like, I do not want to use them. Like, no, I'm mortified. Not doing it. And then they were like, they were kind of like pretty keen. Like they were like, well, you're going to have to do it. And then,
I can imagine.
I remember my drama teacher, like at the time was like, your dad's really like, the camera loves your dad. And I think they actually really like, I don't know. I think that my mum was pretty like, oh my God, I think I was really bad. But I think that they were both pretty good. I remember seeing it and being like, yeah, that was pretty good, guys. And like,
that's cool, parents.
That was their little foray into acting, but I think that that's pretty much it. Yeah.
That's all right. Someone's got to be creative in the family.
Yeah. And as I say, they are creative. They're just
totally. Yeah.
Maybe not as outwardly.
And when did you discover musical theatre?
Well, to be honest, it was like, I mean, I always knew I loved musicals because my uncle John is he's a trumpet player, an amazing trumpet player, and he always would play in like the orchestra of different musicals. And Brisbane was the closest place for us. So growing up, like that's how I was introduced to musicals, because he would always like get us tickets to Brisbane to whatever was playing. So we would like go and see like Sound of Music, or like what else did we see? Like Boy from Oz.
Oh wow, okay. Was that
Matilda, Mary Poppins?
Yeah, wow.
He would always, whatever musical was there, he'd always be like, you're going to come and see it. And like we'd do a day trip up to Brisbane, and like we'd get really good seats, and we'd see him after the show. And like, it was so like, it was just like the most thrilling thing ever. Like I was just always like gobsmacked at the shows. But I never I don't really remember. I remember being like, oh, obviously it would be so cool to be up there. But I don't think that I just don't think I ever thought that I would nearly be good enough. Like I was just like, oh, they're so amazing. Like there's no way that I would ever be able to do that. I didn't think it was like something I entertained.
There was no sort of comparison of yourself to it. It was almost like it was too far a reach.
Yeah, way too far. And because I was just like doing my dance lessons in my like tiny little village. Like it wasn't
tiny little village.
Yeah, like it really is. And
no,
like
I know.
It was even going to Brisbane was so like such a different world, and like it was such a big theater, and like there was buildings everywhere, and it was so exciting. And like it was just, I just felt so far removed from that. I just don't even think it was like on my radar that I could do that. But then when I went to Sydney, I moved to Sydney after school, high school.
How old were you when you moved to Sydney?
Like I would have been
just fresh finished.
I would have been 18 when I moved.
Okay. Yeah.
I was really keen to like get out. Like I was very excited to move to the city. I'd had that planned for a really long time.
Is that when you studied at UTS? Was it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God, you have such a good memory.
Yeah.
What? I can't believe you remember that. I was gonna skip over that bit, but I suppose I'll go there.
That's okay.
I
We want to hear
so
about struggles and that sort of thing.
I immediately like enrolled in a communications degree at UTS.
Okay.
Like straight out of high school, did one.
Oh my God.
And was just
what
like
a circle of events. That's what you first
I was
did.
like,
what?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, no, like I don't want to be doing this. Basically, like I just
Those skills have come in handy now though, haven't they?
Yeah, no, totally. And I don't regret it or anything. Actually, I don't regret it, but I'm kind of like, that was a waste of money. But anyway.
I can say that about where we met, ironically, as well. So don't worry.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah. I definitely don't regret that one. But
full experience.
But yeah, and then I like kind of I remember like sitting, I went home, I think for Christmas after that year, and I'd spent like that year kind of just like being 18 and getting drunk and just being like, you know, partying and enjoying living in Sydney by myself for the first time. And then I remember sitting at home, I'd gone home for Christmas and I was like, I just want to do something. Like I just felt like I didn't want to go back and just have like no purpose kind of thing. I wanted to go back to Sydney with something. And I remember I must have just looked up courses or something like musical theatre or acting courses. And I found this course, I think it's called NIDA Open. The one you can just like enroll in if you're like whoever, and it's like a night course usually. And so I enrolled in the NIDA Open course, and it was called the Broadway Musical.
Okay.
And I remember like going to that class. It was taught by this woman called Brie Langridge. And I was like, I literally remember like overnight, I was just like, my whole life changed. Like everything made sense immediately. I was just like, oh my God, like I just like, I couldn't believe like the change that it had. And I like it was every Wednesday night and I would get the bus to Kensington. And I was just like, I lived for those Wednesday nights. And I think it was only like 7 or 8 weeks or something. And we just did like a different like Broadway musical routine each week. But it was like, and I was just like completely addicted. And then from there, I just started to do heaps of like community theatre and like, just like immerse myself, because I didn't really know, I'd been kind of out of the loop for so long. I didn't know a huge amount of musicals. I didn't really know, like, I'd never auditioned really before for a musical. And like, I just started to do heaps of them, and it was the best. Like it was honestly like the happiest time of my life. It was so good.
Do you feel like from that it started to become like the whole thing of an actor's process? Do you think that it's an organic process? And do you think that's where it started for you?
What do you mean organic? Like,
the organic process means that it's manifested in just like it's meant to be. Everything's falling into place the way it's supposed to be.
I mean, I suppose so. Like, I like to believe that, like, you know, things that work out the way that they were supposed to work out. And I think that I probably would have always found my way back to that, because now that now it is my life, and I couldn't, like, I do think that like this is, you know, what I was meant to be doing, and I'm never happier than when I'm doing performing arts and involved in it. So in a way I think but
it's not something you necessarily think about.
I mean, I don't know. I like probably that course. I'm just so grateful that I enrolled in that course, because that course, like, whether maybe if I would have gone to a different course with a different teacher, maybe it wouldn't have made such an impression on me. I don't know. But I think I was just so ready after not doing it for a year or so, or like kind of not really fully allowing myself to immerse in it, because I was like wanted to be cool, and I didn't think, I was kind of repressing that part of me. But then like once I fully was just like, no, I really love this, and I don't care if like, you know, I don't feel like I'm good enough or whatever, or like it's not like cool. And I just was like, oh my God, this is great. I love this.
And then from there, you stayed in Sydney, and
yes,
you then decided to take on another course, which was actual musical theatre course.
Yes.
At the Actors College of, it's now the Academy of Film and Television. But
I know, I always get so confused.
Was the Actors College?
They've changed their name. So I went to I think it was at the very end of the year, and I decided to like really last minute audition for a couple of courses, and like all of the like basically everything had finished auditioning, because this is just classic me. I was like, yeah,
procrastination.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah, I just was like, yeah, was very late. But then Actors College of Theatre and Television, whatever it's called now, was still open for auditions. So I auditioned there and got in, and then started.
Sorry, my nose is running again. Hang on 2 seconds. Hang on 2 seconds.
What's that?
My nose is running and I just don't want to keep sniffing.
I'm just like, a tissue?
No, it's all right. I'm good.
Are you sure?
Sorry, I just didn't want to interrupt and like have it me sniffling over the top of you.
No, again. Sniff away, my friend.
What was that last bit that you were just saying? So we can AFTT. So so you found AFTT last minute?
Yep. And then I got in, and then I started, and it was with you as well.
It was. Who did you audition with? Was it with Stephen?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, it was with Stephen.
It was with Stephen. Yeah.
Yeah, it was with Stephen and Caroline.
Oh, you got Caroline as well.
And a pianist. I can't remember his name, but yeah.
Right, you got Caroline as well. That's cool. It's a good little audition.
Yeah.
Were you in a group for the auditions, or?
I was in a group. With but I was only with 2 other people, I think, from memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you find the whole experience at the Actors College or Academy of Film?
I don't know. It was.
You can be honest. Like, you can be honest here as well. It is okay.
It was. I feel like I came into it I was so unbelievably excited, and like I was fully like I suppose like I could describe it as in my honeymoon phase of being in love with musical theatre. Like I was obsessed and
Me too.
so
don't worry. Me
like
too.
I couldn't believe that I was gonna get to do it all day, every day. Like I remember getting the timetable, and it was like morning singing, afternoon dance, like evening acting, and like it was, and then it was like Friday creative play. Like it was just unbelievable. Like I was like, this is the best. And I found like some of the classes I found amazing. Like I found that it would depend on what the day was. Like if I had classes that I really loved, I was so excited to go. And if I had classes that like made me nervous or I didn't enjoy so much, I would get really worried about going. I also think that I wasn't really, I don't know, like the acting technique that they teach there, the Morris technique, I found it really hard. Well, as you know, like I can't remember because you left. I can't remember if
I was the first one to leave.
Yeah, if you'd left when we kind of had these issues, but because we were, I think
that's
that
why
they
I
were
left.
they were mainly an acting. Previously, they'd been mainly an acting course.
Yes,
and because like often with the Morris technique, you need to scream a lot. That's like, you know, the exercises are very like visceral, and you use your voice primal. And like it's primal. And a lot of the time it's like, you know, you're yelling. And then we would like scream ourselves hoarse, and then we'd have to go into a singing lesson and have like no voice. So there were a few like issues that I found with like the acting technique not really being super conducive to doing a musical theatre course.
Do you think that came from the focus of the teachers in a way though as well, for where they focused or what they could focus on?
You mean like the way that they chose to teach it?
No, not so much the way they chose to teach it, but the management side of things.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I feel like I just...
and then also us being such a small class, I should say as well. I should add that. There was only like, 4 of us?
Yeah, was there 4? No, well, we started off with 5, right? Me, you.
No, there was supposed to be
Ricky,
5. There was supposed
Laura,
to be. There was a.
Sophie.
Oh no, it is 5. It is 5. Yeah.
There
Oh,
was
oh
5
my
of
God.
us. Yeah.
I always forget about Sophie. I'm sorry, Sophie.
Less.
I just realized that.
Yeah, I don't know what I was saying. I don't know. I just didn't find, I feel like I pretty quickly started to get so anxious before all of the acting lessons.
That's exactly the way I was as well. So I
I didn't really like, I wanted to do well so much, and I was so like interested in acting, and I loved the way that they wanted us to focus on acting, even though we were a musical theatre. We did like I remember we didn't even do like, our first ever thing was just a play. Like we hardly even had any singing. It was just like acting.
Yeah.
And like I really liked that, but then because it was so acting heavy, and because I was starting to not really vibe with the technique, I found it really difficult. And like at the end of the first year, I was just like, I remember they had said like, oh, you know, after the first year you'll have less acting. And then I remember we got our timetable and we had like a big chunk of like a 3-hour acting class or something on like a Wednesday arvo.
Right.
And I remember like I just started crying, and I was just like, I can't, like, I was like, I just can't do this. And I remember I said to my partner at the time, like, I just don't know if I really want to go back. Like, I feel like I shouldn't feel like this about like
totally
my course, and like it shouldn't give me this much anxiety and kind of worry. And yeah, so I decided to leave.
Do you feel like you were putting too much stress on yourself though, or too much not stress but
Pressure?
Pressure. Thank you. Pressure on yourself to stick around and just get through it.
Yeah, I think so. And I was so like hard on myself. Like I was incredibly like, I wanted to do really well. And I found it, I was like, really, I mean, I still like, I'm a perfectionist big time. So I'm like, I'm working, I'm so much less so now, and I'm way more able to just like enjoy kind of the process of doing things and like be way less hard on myself. But yeah, at the time I just felt like nothing I did was like good enough for not for anyone else, but just for me.
Like,
but
did that make me disconnect from acting then?
I don't think it made me disconnect. It made me like chase it more. And so I enjoyed it less.
Yeah.
Like I kind of, it going to that school like kind of made me, it really hit, like the reality of it kind of hit, and I got out of my honeymoon phase, and I was like, oh, I don't really like, this was a thing that I loved so much, and I kind of like don't really feel like I love it anymore.
Yeah.
And I lost faith in myself heaps. Like I was just like, no, I'm not good enough. Like,
so that's where they're more disconnected from what you were doing than from what you wanted.
I suppose so. Like it just was like a big reality check for me. And I think I was just like, I just really didn't, especially with the singing. Like I struggled with my confidence with singing so much. And I just was like,
which is so strange. That's so strange, because you've got an amazing voice. I think, you know, and that's why I go like through that course, there was a lot of focus on who was good, who wasn't, almost, because there was so much like little of us.
Yeah,
and who you had to kind of compare
that to necessarily. It was more just like, I think it for me it was more myself and what I was, how I viewed myself, and like
within yourself.
Yeah, and just like you know, being really like, I think I just had no self-belief, and as a result, like I was really just started to believe that I was really bad. Like I honestly left that course and I was just like, oh my God, I'm terrible. I'm never going to be like able to do any of this stuff. And so I left and then went to Sydney Uni and did what was it? Like an arts degree majoring in performance studies. Cause I was like,
how long was that?
Okay, I'm not going to be
how long was that course? Yeah.
So that was supposed to be 3 years, but I only did a year.
We can leave that out if you want.
I've got a bit of a problem with not finishing, as you can.
My first course that I ever finished in my whole life was the Cabaret course.
Yeah.
So don't you worry. We only finished that 2 weeks ago.
Classic.
Yeah. So sorry. Yeah. So you went to Sydney Uni and you did the arts degree. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't do it. I did a year of it.
What was that experience? Yeah. But what was that experience like though? Still, did you?
It was fine.
Yeah.
I did some cool electives. I've always been interested in psychology, so I did like a psychology subject, which was
I'm
cool
pretty sure
to
I remember
study.
you talking all about that even when we first met.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with. I watch like in my spare time. I just watch like developmental psychology TV shows. It's like so. It's my.
You want to get into
how I relax. Yeah. But yeah, I think like I remember in the class, we were doing like one of our assignments was to do a Brechtian play.
Okay.
And we were, you know, writing various essays on it as well, but we were also supposed to like cast and act it out and rehearse it in the class, and then we're going to do a performance. And I remember we were in a lecture one day and they were like, we've got a surprise for you. And they were like, you're not performing it. You're not performing it. You don't have to do it. So don't stress. You're just going to write your diary. Like we were supposed to keep a rehearsal diary. And it was like, you're just going to write your rehearsal diary, but then we're never performing it. So don't worry. And everyone was like, oh, great. Like, because no one wanted to do it. And I was like,
what's the point?
I know. I was literally like, I miss drama school. Like it was very like, yeah, I was not, it was kind of like just touching on what I wanted to be doing, but it wasn't performing. And I was like, yeah, I at the time I was like, no, this is fine. Like this is going to be very useful for me. And I still think it was useful in my career, but I was like, you know, I wanted to be performing. It was not, I didn't want to be studying historical plays. I wanted to be performing. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then I suppose from there, where did London come in and going overseas?
So, yeah. So I went, it's so strange going back through all this. I went to, just decided basically at the end of that year to go overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, you know, because I hadn't traveled that much. I'd traveled a little bit, but not a huge amount. So I was like, you know, did the classic, like buy a one-way ticket to Europe and like, yeah. So me and my partner at the time went over and like, yeah, just basically traveled. Like we would go and travel kind of for 3-ish months, and then we would go back and like live somewhere. We lived in Bristol, we lived in Edinburgh. Like I did the Fringe. I performed at the Fringe. It was really good actually, because I remember traveling and I just like, I was missing performing so much. And I was like, I felt like the strain of not performing. Like I just felt it on my mental health as well. And yeah, when we went to Edinburgh, I was like, oh, I'm gonna find like a you know, something to perform in. And then I like found this a show, like a kids show at Edinburgh Fringe. So I did that.
Panto?
It was, I suppose it was a panto. Yeah, it was like a funny little show. It was called Cinder's a Folk Tale, and it was like the story of Cinderella, but it was like kind of a bit altered, and it was through this beautiful like kirk. They call it, like, it's like a church, but they call it a kirk, and it had gardens, and basically it was like a promenade show throughout the garden in different sections. It was cute, and yeah, I did that. And then I kind of between all that was traveling. And then we were going to Edinburgh for Christmas to spend Christmas with some friends, and we were passing through London. And on the like day that we had a stopover, like we got a bus, I think we were from Bristol to Edinburgh. And then we had like a 3-hour stopover in London. And then we had a bus to Edinburgh. During the 3-hour stopover, there happened to be like an audition for a musical theatre course at Central. that was just like perfectly, like I could just kind of get there and then get back to my bus. And I was like, fuck it, like I'll just audition like and see. And I was like, because I knew Central was such a good school, and I was like, there's no way that I will get in, but I was like, I'll just audition and like I have nothing to lose kind of thing. And so I went there and did the audition, and then I went, oh no, maybe we're going to Leeds actually, I don't know, we're going to Leeds anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, and then I went and did the audition, and then I remember I was like in Leeds and I got an email saying that I'd gotten it, and I was like, yeah,
what is this?
I was literally like dumbfounded, like I was so shocked, because I also
that
thought that I
time has to be that's very, very quick sort of turnaround time as well for them to say yes.
I can't remember, I don't think it was like immediately, but maybe like a couple of days after or something that. But yeah, and I was just so unbelievably shocked. And then I kind of had some decisions to make, because I was like, we were wrapping up our trip really, like we were supposed to go back.
How long had you been over there for at that point?
I think like it would have been, I think that was around Christmas time. So it would have been almost a year that we had been there, around about. And I was like, basically decided to break up with my boyfriend. And
that's what I was about to ask, whether he did. Is that what happened? You guys split and then he came back and you stayed there?
Basically I was like, I think I have to do this.
That's a huge decision.
It was massive. And I got a bus to London by myself and went to a like 36 bed dorm hostel and like was like, cool, time to find a house.
Oh my God. Wow. That's a more like shocking and out of body experience, I think, more so than what happened to you in Sydney. But I think the things that happened to you in Sydney almost made you ready for that experience overseas.
Oh yeah, I mean, quite possibly. It was pretty crazy.
To come to that decision and go, okay, I'm going to be selfishly selfless in that sense that you've actually, even though you're breaking up with someone, it's for the bigger picture, it's for the long run. It's not to do with, that person or what's happening and all that. It's just hard for kind of weird.
Yeah, exactly. I think I knew that I needed to like go out on my own kind of thing and like figure out who I was, like I suppose. And it's such a like I don't know if you've ever done that, but like moving to a new city where you literally know no one is so like isolating. Like I'd never felt isolation like that, because I was like, I remember being like, there was something to do with like when I found a house, I couldn't pay, I didn't have the right money to pay there was something to do with money or something, and I was gonna get paid but I didn't have it yet, and I was like waiting for a couple of days and I need to pay it that day, so one of those vibes. And I remember being like, I'll just borrow money off someone, because normally you just borrow money off like your friend or whatever, and then you pay them back when you get paid. But then I remember being like, who can I borrow money off? And I remember like I asked my housemate at the time, who I just moved in with, and I was like, hey, like, is there any way that I could borrow some money? And like she was like, understandably was like, I'm so sorry, no, like I've just met you. And I was like, that's fair. But I was also like, oh my God, I literally don't have anyone to like, I mean, I ended up just asking my friend in Edinburgh, which was like, makes a lot of sense. But I think at the time I felt that like there was a moment where I was like, oh, there's no one in this city that I can,
what am I going to do?
Ask for these kinds of things, or like borrow their car, or like, if I really need it, there's not really like anyone that I can kind of ask for a favor in this city. So yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to almost come to terms with when you realize, oh, hang on, it is just me now. Truly actually is me. Even though you decided to take on those steps, that's actually like realization setting in.
Exactly.
What was the central school and all of that like? Was it a really fulfilling process?
Yeah. I absolutely loved going to Central. It was basically it was a diploma, but it was geared so that it was part-time so that you could still work.
Oh,
So
right.
I
How
think
good's
we were
that?
going, yeah, we were going 3 days a week. So,
Okay.
and I like, otherwise I wouldn't, there's no way I would have been able to do it because I
That's
had
so good.
London is so expensive.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, it is. Yes.
yeah, if it was full-time, I wouldn't have been able to work. So I just found it like, yeah. And, you know, like Central, people have different experiences at Central. I had a great experience and I absolutely loved it there. Yeah.
I suppose also being a foreigner, you probably you're not used to the antics or how someone actually, you know, works in a sense. Do you know what I mean? You're kind of learning that the first time, where you probably find a lot of people who are from there, or, you know.
You mean in terms of going to the school? Like I'm not.
Yeah, but being in a different country, you know, so
Yeah.
like just the mannerisms and how they might present something, you're actually just seeing for the first time, where other people probably are going, oh, that's normal. I'm over that. Okay, you know, see you later. Like.
Yeah, totally. I definitely found like it took some getting used to with the like with the things that I remember being so confused by people were always asking me if I was okay. They're always like, because in Australia,
okay.
like if I say to you like, are you okay? Like, you know, you assume something's wrong with you. And I remember I would come into work and like stuff and be like, hey babe, are you okay? And
that's how they always talk. Yeah, that's just normal. Like how you going here in Australia?
Exactly. But I didn't understand that for ages. Or people would message me and be like, are you okay? And I'd be like, yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously, actually, you know, I hated it for the first 6 months, but I think that's just a given when you first moved somewhere. Like it was freezing cold. I'd never seen the snow. I was
my God, totally. What was that like? Yeah. Totally, because I realized you've never seen snow, because we've talked about this. That's so funny, because I still have never seen snow.
Yeah, right. Well, it's pretty nuts the first time you see it. It's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, that was like, yeah, when I moved there was like this, all the papers were like the beast from the east. There was like this blizzard or whatever that was like named the beast from the east. And it was like, from the east. I don't know, the coldest temperatures they'd had in ages. And
my God.
It was just so unbelievably cold. It was ridiculous.
That's good timing.
Yeah, I know. I was like in my tiny bedroom in my single bed being like, what the hell did I do?
I can't even imagine how cold it was. Far out. So then after that experience, how long did you stay around in the UK for a little while after? Or were you just there for while you studied?
I stayed for around how long? I think it was around maybe 6 months, maybe 5 months after I finished. And then my visa expired. So I had to leave, which was... So
it was just a student visa, or were you able to work? Oh, no, of course you were able to work as well.
Yeah, it's called like it's kind of like the working holiday visa. It's called the Tier 5 Youth Mobility Visa. Basically, it just gives you like 2 years. You can study, work, or whatever. And yeah, I had by that time, like I had an agent there. I was working. I was like,
oh wow.
I was really like feeling like I'd finally like found my kind of like groove with it. And I was understanding, like I'd gotten on Spotlight, which was like this thing, you know, it's kind of like Showcast here, like it's basic, like I just felt really like I was finally starting to understand the industry and like make connections, and like was really enjoying living there. And I had made loads of really good friends, and I just was so devastated to leave. Like I just didn't want to go. And yeah, it was really hard to leave. Very hard.
Yeah. Is that why you chose Melbourne, do you feel, as your place of being now? And where you, because in a sense, it's like our version of London in a sense. Do you know what I mean? How it's the vibe and all that.
I mean, to be honest, I only chose Melbourne because I had been living in Sydney before, as you know, before I moved to London, and I didn't want to go. I was a bit scared that I would go back into that same kind of Yeah. And I
Okay.
just felt like a different person. And I was like, I want something new. And also loads of my friends were living in Melbourne. So it's pretty easy decision to just kind of move to
You had
Melbourne.
those connections there.
Yeah.
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 Um, so you moved down to Melbourne, and how long until you found your groove in Melbourne, I suppose?
Was a while. To be honest, I think I've only just found my groove in Melbourne.
Okay.
I didn't like it.
That's what I should say, is that pandemics happened. Totally. So you would have
Yeah.
just come back and you had a year of nothing, or getting back into things, and then nothing at all because of the pandemic. Yeah, true.
Yeah. Because I kind of came back, and then I faffed around for a bit. I shot this river. I did went to see people, went to visit people, and then I went to Melbourne kind of mid 2019. And then I had about 6 months, and then pandemic time. So I really didn't have time to get to know the city at all or feel like it was home before.
Oh, you were in Melbourne as well. You were in lockdown on lockdown on lockdown.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we were locked down for so fucking long, and it was just relentless. And I feel like, I just had loads of trauma with Melbourne, associated with Melbourne. And I just didn't, up until this at Christmas time, this most recent Christmas. So end of last year, I was pretty sure I wanted to leave Melbourne. I was like, I don't like it. I've given it a good go. I just don't, I'd never felt like it was my home like I did with Sydney. And then I went on this big holiday. I went to Sydney, and I went to I went camping. I just went to I went visit my parents in Northern Rivers, and I just kind of did a massive holiday that we hadn't been able to do because of all the lockdowns for so long.
Yeah.
And then when I came back to Melbourne, I was like, oh, I love Melbourne. All of a sudden it just I was just like, oh no, now I love it. And now I'm obsessed with Melbourne. And
you and Melbourne click.
Yes.
I was just putting that out there. As soon as you said you're in Melbourne and all of that, I've just gone, yeah, makes sense.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I feel like it makes sense now too. I absolutely love Melbourne now. So it's taken a while, but now we're thick now.
Yeah. And I suppose coming full circle now, you're now communications manager, yes, for WIT, as well as...
So you know your stuff.
I do research. That's what it comes down for some things. Obviously, the things that I knew from when we met, that's different. I did remember those things.
Yeah.
And so you're running the kids department as well.
I am. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that like? Kind of stepping outside of your the realm of almost trying to create the perfect actor or the perfect dancer or the perfect performer. It's instilling just love. That's really what it's about. I
totally. Yeah, 100%. And that is honestly one of my favorite things about it. It's so good for me and my because I think that I realized that I really just, I think it's hard when you make what you love
what you do,
your career.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you find this too, and I'm sure most people do, that it's so good when it's good, and you just feel on top of the world and you feel like you're the luckiest person in the world. But then when it's not going well, it's so difficult because it's what you love, and you're not able to do it, or it's not working for whatever reason.
I kind of attribute it to being like a drug in a sense, and it's not saying that it's but it really, you got that high that happens when it really does feel good, but when it feels really bad, it's like a come down. It's or whatever, it's kind of, it's
absolutely. I 100%, that is exactly how I feel. And I find that I've had to do loads of work on just kind of being able to find a lot of joy in my life and to really love my life without having a job, because I've got to the point where I was if I'd been cast in something and I had a job, I felt I was on the high, you know, like I'd had the hit, I was feeling amazing. Everything in my life was amazing. My relationships were amazing. Like it was all just like working great. But if I was not getting auditions or had a big audition and didn't get it, or like, you know, just for whatever reason, like wasn't vibing, or, you know, I was doing a project that wasn't going very well, or I felt like I wasn't performing very well, I would just like crash, as you say. And it was like a come down, and I just felt so crappy, and it was like bleeding out into all the other areas of my life. And I just was like up, down, up, down. And I was just like, this is not sustainable. Like, it's just not okay.
It's a snowball effect, unfortunately.
What's that?
It's a bit of a snowball effect in that situation, unfortunately.
Yeah. Exactly. And I was like, my career is not my life, you know, it's one aspect of my life, but there's so many other like things that are important to me. And I didn't want it to have that power over me. So yeah, I think like going into class and like teaching the kids and like just reminding myself to just like kind of, because life is just so silly, and we are so lucky. Like I'm so lucky to live where I live, and like, you know, there's so many things that I have to be so grateful for. And like, it's just, yeah, I just want to like remind myself to kind of enjoy life and have fun and not take it so seriously. And like, you know, if you get a job, you get a job. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. And like, there's loads of other stuff to look forward to in the day, kind of thing. So yeah.
And where did your choice for wanting to, I suppose, cultivate queer focus in a sense with performance and that sort of thing, or you know, being completely inclusive, I suppose I should ask?
Yeah, I mean, I'm queer, and I feel like I took a long time to realize that. And I think once I kind of really felt like I was able to like own my queerness, I feel like it's just been moving, like, how do I say this? Like I've just felt so drawn, which I suppose is natural when that's your identity, you're drawn to work that,
yeah,
you know, has representation of that identity. But I think I also like, yeah, I think it's just so, representation is so important. Like it's just, yeah, I think
representation, I think, stops people from trying to just understand somebody, because they'll just allow that person to be, you know, instead of, you know,
yeah,
going
just
around
seeing like, yeah, seeing yourself, and also I think like accurate representation.
Totally.
Yeah,
and especially with queer, I get what you're saying, especially with the queer sort of world and the LGBTQ banner, they've kind of been depicted as certain ways, or a certain, you know, lifestyle, or a certain, you know, choice of career or whatever it may be, and it's not necessarily that way whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's like there's loads of queer stuff in Melbourne, which is so good. And I think like
did you want a chair? No, you're right. Yeah, sorry. I just realized the chair out over here is moldy from how wet it's been. I just looked at it, I've gone, oh my God, you're not sitting down. Sorry.
Oh my God. That's okay. I don't know what I was saying. Yeah. What was your question again?
I just suddenly got distracted by the mold. I don't remember.
Anyway, queer stuff is good, and I'm interested in good. Is the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah. So being in Melbourne, have you been out to see any of the drag queens or any drag performers or anything like that?
I did actually. The other day I went to, there's this venue in Footscray called Mama Chen's. Okay. And I went to this, like, it's called Carabiners. It was like this queer.
Okay. Carabiners, you said, sorry?
Yeah, you know how it's a joke that loads of lesbians wear carabiners all the time.
Yeah.
And It was so much fun. And I feel like that's something that I've just been so enjoying being like in queer spaces, because I'm very like, I just haven't like, I haven't really been to that many like gay bars and like queer events. And it's only been recently that I've kind of started to like go to actually specifically like events for queer people and like go to gay bars, and like it's been so fun. Like I just honestly am like, I feel so like safe there, and I feel like I didn't realize kind of, not that I feel unsafe in other spaces, but just how how like kind of nice it feels to be in those spaces.
They're unabashedly opened almost. It's like they're going to go out of their way to tell you that they're open and invite you in a sense, and allow you just to enjoy yourself.
It feels so safe. Like you just feel like you can kind of just be yourself, and like you just feel like you're among friends immediately.
Yeah.
And I am just like, I'm really loving like discovering those spaces and like going to those events, and it's been really nice. So anyway, sorry, there was like that was kind of a night. There was like a lot of different kind of, it was almost like a cabaret, I suppose.
Okay. That's where we're about to come to, ironically. So but keep going. Sorry.
But there was like a couple of drag performances. There was a little bit of comedy. There was some DJs. There was like, oh my God, there was this amazing dancer who I can't remember the name of, tragically, but they were incredible. That was a really good night. But
and where did Cabaret, as I was saying, where did that come from? Like for you to choose the Cabaret or creating Cabaret course with Queenie Van?
I mean, to be honest, I didn't really know what Cabaret was that much. I mean, I did know, but like I didn't really. I more was interested in just having something that was going to hold me accountable to write something.
Okay.
I wasn't necessarily attached to it being a cabaret.
Okay.
Although I think cabaret is a really cool genre, and I like,
the domain's amazing, isn't it? Like when you actually through the course, it wasn't what I expected at all.
I don't know what I expected it to be, but
did you know of Queenie beforehand? And
I must have.
And how she works and all that?
I must have known her because I was on her mailing list. I must have signed up at some point, but I don't.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm not sure when, like, how I discovered her, but it was. I think I just wanted I wanted something. Same thing, like I wasn't getting auditions. I think it was at the start of the year, and I was kind of just like, either I sit on my ass and I'm like, where's my
thumbs
work?
And
or I'm like, I do something, so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this for myself, kind of thing.
Being proactive about your creative flow, I suppose.
And I think I'm really motivated to like make connections this year and kind of meet more creative people and meet like collaborators and stuff, because I feel like I think Queenie said this on the cabaret on the course, but I just don't think I just can't work alone, because I just don't do it. I need someone to like hold me accountable. Otherwise,
I'm the same.
It's so hard. But anyway,
has this course given you a love for just being able to perform and not necessarily being, as Queenie said, a robot? I suppose, ironically, like you are in musical theatre, it's a bit of an open domain in that sense.
I don't know, to be honest. I feel like it's not necessarily like, I think also Queenie mentioned this, like sometimes when it's too open, it's like I find it really hard to like, if there's parameters, I find it easier to focus myself, because if it's too open, I'm just like, I could do anything, and like I'll never do anything because there's too many options. But I think I found it really inspiring, like listening to all of the different people's kind of expertise and how passionate they all are about the genre. And I've enjoyed like their little nuggets of kind of wisdom and
little mentorship almost in a sense with them.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. Do you what I should say is, where did your I suppose your inspiration for your idea for the show that you chose? We don't have to say what the show is, obviously.
Okay.
But yeah.
Oh, to be honest, like
unless you want to say what the show is, but you don't have to. Yeah.
I mean, I can say it if you want. I just didn't have an idea. Like because we had a we had to pitch them or whatever.
You didn't have an idea to begin with at all.
No, wait, when I signed up for it.
That's right. I'm just realizing that totally. I thought that you had the idea when we started talking, but that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have an idea. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I remember it was coming up to I think it was the day that we were supposed to pitch. And I was like, I just had written 15 ideas
down. Yeah. Oh, the first pitches. And I was just the two different weeks of pitching. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just written so many ideas down. And I was just I don't know which one I'm going to do. I just struggle. I'm so indecisive. I'm frustrated with myself to no end on how indecisive I am. I just can't stick with something. But, I think, but when we were doing the pitches, because I can't remember, but I think that I didn't really know what I was going to do. I had a vague idea, but then when watching other people's, I was it started to give me ideas, and it's that collaboration thing, right? When you're talking about someone else's idea, you're like, oh, that's a cool idea for my thing. And I think I've been
doing that constantly, even after, and then realizing, oh, hang on, wait, I can't put that in because I'm only doing it because I saw someone do that from the class, or catching myself in one of those little things.
And I think I just kind of started to develop ideas from watching other people's, and then luckily she didn't make me go the first week, because I would have been
me too,
very unprepared. Then I went I think that week I kind of was able, I think even just after that, straight after we finished that night, I was just blah, 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 and wrote down a little pitch and kind of got a mood board together. And
totally, I remember your mood board. As soon as you said that, I'm like, I remember you showing the mood board. That's right. Okay, and that's when
So I feel I'm a very visual person. I need to sorry.
No, you're all good.
I need to
very visual person. You need the visual aid almost. I
need to map it out and kind of anyway, so that's kind of
but your idea is such a strange out there. We can say it if you don't mind. It's called Tim Tam. Yeah.
Sure.
Which is ironically, when you first had the first name, just what is it? Just Tim or whatever it was, or something like that.
Yeah.
It almost it was such a great idea as it was. And then for you to change the title and call it Tim Tam, I was like, oh my God, that is so smart. That is so smart. It makes so much sense here in Australia. It really does.
Okay, well, I'm glad you like it, because I still feel unsure about the title, but everyone else seemed to like it. When we were pitching to the other people, they were all like, oh yeah, good title. So I feel it seems fine. I'm not completely sold on it, but I thought it would be funny if they call themselves Tim Tams. So basically,
that's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
I'll quickly explain. So basically, it's a very silly show. It's supposed to be these three, or did I say 2 or 3? I think I said 2. 2 witches that are very weird and kind of funny, and it's going to be a lot of dance, a lot of original songs, and there'll be a pianist that will kind of play throughout, and they'll interact with him. But basically, they're obsessed with this kind of person called Tim, who is a voiceover, and they conjure him and follow his instructions to make this potion that's going to give him a body and bring him to the mortal world, basically. And when he comes, he's kind of this cis man who's kind of like condescending and is just like so not what they've built him up to be. And yeah, I won't spoil the ending, but
Totally.
that's
No, we won't spoil the ending. But so I suppose, did that idea, did you have a connection to the movies like oh my God, it's just gone from me, Hocus Pocus? And no, you didn't have any sort of connection?
I don't even think I've seen that movie.
Oh, seriously? That's really funny. Oh, Death Becomes Her. That's the other one I was trying to think of as well.
No, I honestly don't think I may have seen Hocus Pocus when I was so young, but I can't remember. But I don't know where this idea came from. I want to do, I don't know. I don't know if you find this too, but I think that like, I don't have very much experience writing, and I feel like I struggle a lot with writing, and I really want to do it and get better at it. But it's like, I'm very early in the process. You know, I've never finished anything I've written.
I've never written anything in my life up until this course. I was the same. Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know if you find this, but I find that like, I suppose the themes that I end up writing about are usually similar, but like the way I get there is like incredibly varied.
I can see what you're saying. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I think for me it was a little bit different. I came to my idea long before the course. I've had this idea kind of brewing for like a couple of years now.
Yeah.
But I kind of disconnected from from myself, even though I was still performing and all of that. I disconnected from what I really wanted. And then it was a big life event that kind of changed my perspective on what I actually can achieve and do myself.
Really?
To what other people had been telling me or what I had been led to believe of myself.
Amazing.
So my idea, I suppose, is it was always just to create a platform for my drag character, because I know that that's somewhere I can make good money. It sounds terrible, but it's really the truth. Like,
yeah, no, totally.
I can say because by the time this comes out, I can say mine's Villains of Vord, so it's a time traveling show. Which I found really interesting talking to Queenie about it, because she disconnected from the tech side of things. It was such a strange thing going through our pictures and she really disconnected from the technology of like not being able to time travel on stage. But my thing is a very visual thing, like you were saying before. You've got to see it to understand how I want to do it. You can't kind of just explain time travel. Like,
yeah, totally. And I feel like it's always, you know, you never like, I'm sure that Queenie would agree with this, like, you know, no one's word is like gospel, you know.
No, totally. But it was the first time I'd been told that from somebody. Do you know what I mean? It was the first time that I'd had someone that had obviously either had a connection to Doctor Who or to, you know, nostalgia of a way that time travel has already been presented, or they just disconnect from sci-fi, you know. It's
yeah, totally. And I think like, I mean, I don't know how fleshed out your idea is, but it probably is, or for me at least, I think like
my idea's completely changed since the course is done, ironically.
Oh, really? Well, there you go.
We can talk about it. Yeah, but I'll say off camera.
I feel like I think it's hard for me to explain verbally what I mean, because I think I don't know how to explain this. Like, basically, I think often it just changes completely when you get on your feet. I mean, I'm talking like I've done this before. I haven't, but I suppose in my like.
But you understand what workshopping is.
Yeah, the experience of creating in different ways. Like, I've created shows for like the kids and the kids to do with kids and stuff. And like, I think it's just like sometimes, you know, you have an idea of how it's going to be, and then you get in and then you're like, oh, this so clearly doesn't work.
Yeah.
The way that I thought it would be, I thought it would. And then like, you know, but you instinctively know that you need to change it. Does that make sense?
Totally. But it's because you don't have the right vices and tools to be able to get out of that habit or get out of that, you know, cycle that you
or just put up in. It. Like,
think outside of yourself.
See it. Till you.
When you've got those tools, you can see outside yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if other people probably work completely differently, but I find it so difficult until I kind of get it get it actually there and in front of me and like we're physically doing stuff, I find it really hard to like make concrete decisions about what's going to work and what's not going to.
Do you find that you've got a big connection to improvising and when workshopping and all that, and or even just being on stage and presenting something?
Yeah, I love improvising, and I think that it's something that comes really naturally to me, and like I find it a really important tool to, especially like, I mean, it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but I think that for me, because I'm quite an anxious person, improvising is so good for me, because my brain doesn't have a chance.
That out-of-body experience again that we're just talking about.
What I'm doing, I'll tell myself that it's shit, like, because I'm already doing it. So I find it so freeing. And so like, I feel like that's when, you know, I kind of feel like I come up with some of the stuff that works the best is when I'm just like, I don't know, putting the like say in a self-tape, for example, or something, like if I just quickly like turn the camera on and I just like do some stuff, and then I find it works a lot better sometimes than.
Do you enjoy looking back at yourself on camera though?
Oh, I mean, never.
I hate it.
But I feel like I've gotten so much better at knowing when I'm like, no, that is pretty good, or if I'm like, no, that's god awful, take another take.
Totally. You can be a bit more subjective about yourself the more you kind of have that experience. So one of my like most, I suppose, fond memories of you in particular, you know, even though it was with the class at AFTT, and why I'm talking about improvisation, the day that we had to, all right, so one of our teachers gave us, literally, it was just a word or a thing or a place or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then we had to come in to the class. The rest of the class didn't know what the scene was. And then we just had to start improvising on the spot. And you did a full scene without speaking. And I'd never seen somebody, unless they're in a movie, come into a space and not speak a word, but translate everything across.
Really?
And well, in the sense of like, I'd never seen someone do that in just an improvisation, you know. People always went for the laughter and for the humor and for the, you know, the gag, you know, growing up with improvisation. It wasn't about the seriousness or the heavy, you know, gravity of being a war-torn country, you know, or being a, you know, whatever the idea was that you were given to begin with.
Yeah. Do you remember? I don't remember that at all. I wonder what the word
Don't
was.
you?
No.
So you were running through a desert. I actually do remember, like, exactly. Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about now?
No,
you don't. Okay, so you're running through a desert, and I think Tyron had told you to do something where I think he said no words or something like that, or no, it wasn't that. No, I can't exactly remember because we weren't told it. I was only, you know, the guesser.
Okay. I was running through a desert.
Yeah.
And I was looking for water or something.
No, it was like a war-torn country almost.
Really?
Yeah. And there was bombs going off. You imagined that you had your sister, or you were looking for your sister or something like that. And yeah, that's amazing. You don't remember, but that's such like one of the things that like is ingrained into my mind. Seriously, like.
I feel like there's an incredibly vague memory that's coming back to me. Something to do with a car. Did I pretend that I was near a car or something? Or maybe that was something different.
Yes, maybe that's what you were doing, and it wasn't. It's just that's what maybe we guessed. So you must have been near a car or something like that, because I thought it was a log. You jumped over a log, I thought, in my head. And hid behind
I don't know if it's the same thing. I'm remembering some kind of distressing scene to do with a car, but I don't know. That's so funny. I love that you remember that. I'm touched.
Well, it was the first time where, as I said, I saw someone doing a completely silent, like, improvisation sort of scene.
Yeah.
But that was serious, but was done where, regardless of where you were, what the setting was, I got the full picture that I wanted to get.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? And that's the most irreverent sort of, ironically, irreverent. Yeah, that word again.
Ding, ding, ding,
that's actually the most irreverent sort of way to act, because it allows someone to get the story that they want to get from it, regardless of what it is. It's still meaning there, still the same meaning. Still
Yeah, totally.
And that made me think that you were the best actor in the class out of anybody from there on. I'm not even joking. Not even joking. It's the truth. Like, yeah. So my whole focus for acting after doing that course completely changed and made me go, okay, I want to aspire to that level of acting. Because I didn't think I had that level of acting, you know, like.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's an amazing thing, improvisation and the skills that you get from it.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I'd actually love to do more improvisation. Because I think I find it so, I think it's a really, it's a
I
good
can ask you this on camera actually, because by the time this comes out, I'll have launched my whole, you know, theatre company and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm doing improv musicals, and it was something I did want to talk to you about.
Oh my God. Cool.
And it's paid work, and I was going to see if you'd like to maybe come and be involved with the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on when and where and all
Totally,
of that.
Totally.
Sure.
Yeah. Because I'm doing touring company, so it's not going to just be in one spot.
Amazing.
But I kind of want to get to start off with.
Stuff, or are you like?
I've already got funding for my whole company. Yeah. So I'm putting on a musical.
Wow.
This will all be launched next year. I'm putting on Firebringer. Oh, sorry, not in a couple of months. Firebringer the musical, Star Kid.
I don't know it, but sounds cool.
Yeah, and that's going to be on in Sydney. But then I'm going to be starting the improv musicals as well. And that'll kind of be more regional, and then also taking it to the cities after that.
Firebringer looks cool. What's it about?
Okay, so it's, I suppose, a parody on musicals, really.
Okay, classic.
Yeah, so it's the context that's kind of a parody. It's set in, you know, Neanderthals, you know, pre-history, and kind of takes the piss out on modern day humans, with a feminine centric sort of leadership. Cool. With the main characters being two females. Nice. I don't know how to. It's the discovery of fire. That's basically what the whole storyline is. It's
right. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Check it out. There is a full version on YouTube if you do want to see it. Yeah, nice. The original production. But yeah. Cool. So we're doing that in February of next year, and then. Cool. And then also, yeah, all my drag stuff as well. So there's a lot going on there.
Sounds like you got loads going on. That's so good. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah, no, it is good. Like it's only kind of happened in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, a big life event that had gone on.
Yeah.
That was a weight lifted off my shoulders in saying that. Don't get me wrong. It was something that if it didn't happen, I would never have pulled myself out of the situation. I would still be there. So it's a good thing, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's to do with community theatre, unfortunately, where
okay.
Yeah. So I just had to step away from it in the end.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was good. It made me realize, okay, I can do this for myself. I don't need the support or the backing there.
Yeah.
I'd outgrown that community in that group, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, it's nice when things kind of can be turned into a positive like that.
Well, okay, I'm not suicidal, but I almost like, what is life? What is the point in this? Almost it was like that loss of purpose, like you were talking about before, you know, that I kind of went through, but it was only 2 weeks of it, literally 2 weeks, not long at all. But it was the first time where I'd actually got myself out of that situation. And it's just really ironic talking to you today about your experience that you kind of had prior to the pandemic, you know, and being in, you know, London, going through that whole, you know, existential sort of crisis in a sense of what do I want? Who am I? Where am I going? And just realizing how similar our paths have been since we haven't actually been connected at all. Like it's really quite strange. And then for us to reconnect in a class that's online, like
I know, crazy.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's good. So yeah, and then 2 weeks later after that, I found out I got inheritance from a family member that I'd only ever seen like once or twice in my life.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So that's how you're funding your theatre company?
Yeah. So I've been able to fully back up myself for the first production.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
Yeah. So I've got like $30,000 or $40,000 production for the first one. Yeah. how much it's going to cost.
Nuts.
Yeah, but it's ridiculous how expensive it is. And hiring a theatre in particular, the Zenith Theatre in Chatswood is, it's being in Sydney. It's just, I had no comparison from Coffs Harbour to Sydney. I thought it was going to be relative. No, not at all. It's like triple, almost, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and then there's all these other things happened, like getting asked to audition for Queens of the Universe and a few other shows. So
amazing. Because you have such a beautiful voice. Like I always remember.
Oh, thank you.
So stunning.
My voice has changed so much now since we were in college. That was college. I call it college, uni.
I mean, it was college.
Let's call it a college. Yeah. My voice has changed so much now. Like I don't sing in the same way. I don't have those same sort of tones that come out anymore. It's really, because that was my first, like when we met, was my first sort of time being aware I could sing.
Yeah, right.
Not just feeling like I could, kind of stay in tune, and being in Coffs, being the, only one that looks black and those sorts of things, you kind of just get thrown into certain characters, regardless of whether you actually really can do that character.
Especially in musical theatre.
But I chucking my paper, don't mind me. But I realized that I could do all of those characters. It was actually just a false sense of my ability.
Okay. Yeah. It takes time to build up that confidence, doesn't it?
Totally. Yeah. Just let me quickly check the time. Where are we at?
Yeah, no worries.
We're going quite a bit over.
Yeah, I'll probably have to jump off soon.
That's right. Okay, so good. What next? What's coming up for you? I know you've got, obviously, with WIT, you've still got all the kids stuff and all of that, and you got funding, I'm pretty sure, for something that's for the kids.
Yeah, so I'm organizing with WIT Kids, I'm organizing a holiday drama kind of program. We got a grant to do that through the Westgate Tunnel Foundation. So that's kind of what I'm mainly like working on at the moment, because that's coming up in less than a month.
Okay.
So basically it's like,
that will have happened by the time I think this comes out then, but.
Oh, okay. Well,
this doesn't come out till August, so.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, hope it went well.
I think it will have gone well. I just realized that.
I hope so. So I'm doing that. It's kind of to like, basically kids are going to write their own show, basically.
Okay.
It's absolute chaos, but I'm very excited about it. Hopefully it goes well.
And is this just in a week or in a?
Yeah, so it's in 5 days. So basically we've got different kind of artists from, we're all based, WIT's always based in West Melbourne. And it's kind of like, basically the kids will come in and we'll have we've got a few core teachers, myself and Sarah Frensham and Jacqueline Luty, and we're going to be there day to day, just taking classes and singing, dancing, acting, kind of trying to basically on the first day, we'll try and get the themes of what the kids are interested in and quickly write something. It's probably going to make no sense, but that's okay. And
doesn't matter. That's
we've got a pianist called Sol Summers, and he's going to come in and do some songwriting classes with the kids and do like kind of
Have you done a process where it's just been a short stint like that to create a show? In
a way, I've done a little bit of devising with the kids in drama class, but nothing like this of this scale. So I'm a bit, but like I was saying before, I'm very like, WIT Kids has always been about, and one of the reasons that I loved it and wanted to take it over from Belinda, the founder, she just set up such a amazing program. And it was so based in like fun and drama for all, regardless of ability or background or like we've got tiered pricing, so it's not like
that's great.
As well, drama is so expensive to do. Performing arts is so expensive to do as a kid.
You don't have money, then it can be the hardest thing to even get a job or a career in. You need money to make money.
I mean, like for the classes.
But I mean, even for the class, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, regardless of that, it's like it starts out expensive. It ends
these
expensive.
5-year-old kids that are just doing it for fun. It's like so expensive.
True. Yeah.
So yeah, it's our classes are super affordable, and it's just like it's not kind of about being good or like acting or it's just like it's just really about them having fun and then also building skills as they go. But
totally.
And that's what I really want to do with this camp as well. Like, it's not really about the outcome. It's more just about like them.
You will actually probably find that the outcome's quite amazing. Like I did a musical where we created a musical in 3 weeks.
Oh, amazing.
For adults. And it was like, you kind of need those 3 weeks as an adult because you can't have the same focus as kids. You're not just there the whole time. Parents drop you off and then you go home. So it was, it was such a strange experience. Like halfway through, you think you're not going to make it. And then you get to the end and you're like, oh my God, this is better than what I even thought. Thank God my expectations were lowered. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it sounds terrible, but that whole experience of, expectations kind of just been slowly going, then you kind of not left feeling like wasn't worth it.
Yeah, totally.
It's all worth it. Yeah.
I mean, I have like no expectation of the kind of actual thing. Like I just hope that they have fun and get something out of it. And loads of, I mean, the grant's about connecting communities. So it would
totally okay. Yeah.
Lots of families in West Melbourne and hopefully, they all get something out of it.
Yeah, that's great.
Be happy.
Yeah. And so where can people find you on social media and that?
They can find me on Instagram. Yeah. Wit. You can like Wit. It's called InstaWit is the handle, or just Wit Incorporated, WIT.
Yeah. We'll put it up underneath on when we upload it and all that for you as well.
Amazing. And you can find me you can search my name, Madeleine Magee Carr, or you can find me at, I think it's Mads Magee with 2 underscores. Mads and then 2 underscores and then Magee. Because I think I posted that in the chat in the Cabaret course, and someone was like,
underscore.
It was only 1 underscore and it is not you. And I was like, oh, don't follow them. It's not me. So make sure you put 2 underscores.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for being here. It was a lot of fun.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Thanks for doing so much research. And that was a lovely first interview experience.
That's good. Well, as I said, you can find her on social media through Wit and her own personal Instagram and that sort of thing. But otherwise, thank you. Give it up for Madeleine. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you so much. All right, I'll see you later.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
See ya.